Hello and welcome to another episode of Theorycraft. My name is Anders, and today we're going to be looking at Anubis, where I feel like it's time for some new grenades and maybe some new ideas, so I'll try and take you through a couple of mine, and you guys tell me what you think. Now, I've always dreamt of having a smoke that lands up here somewhere and then sort of waterfalls down to block off all of connector. Right now, smokes are thrown down here and they're thrown all the way to the top connector, and sometimes they'll land somewhere in between here to try and cover the top of this. But the problem is now that you can shoot through smokes, these stair smokes here, you can very easily with an M4 just shoot over the smoke and you can see almost everything on the other side. So I feel like the waterfall smoke might be a better alternative. What we're going to be doing is just wedging ourselves into this corner, and we're going to be aiming sort of below the wire a little bit on this side. If you go too far out here, it's going to be a problem, and obviously you go too far up or down, it's going to be a problem. But I think with a little bit of practice, though, you are going to be able to land these very consistently. And the smoke looks like this, and it obviously covers absolutely everything that the CTs are going to be wanting to look for. And it's a lot harder for them to shoot through. Not impossible, but a lot harder than if they're on the stairs here, because you're shooting through the middle of the smoke and not the very top of it. Interestingly, if you end up throwing the smoke too far onto the other side, it will still land where it's supposed to, but it will end up not actually going down towards the bottom. Instead, you get the smoke that hangs in the air. And I want to make a case that maybe there is some use to this, because you can see the CTs quite a lot earlier than they can see you with this kind of a smoke. So there is maybe an argument to be made that if you start throwing the waterfall smoke, but every once in a while you throw this one, you might actually be able to bait people into peeking you and just kind of wait for that. So both, I think, are interesting. Tell me what you guys think. After I got done with middle, I started worrying about the B-bomb side, and I realized there aren't really that many grenades that are thrown here. There are some pretty common flashes that are thrown over. You obviously got the smoke towards the catwalk here, and then you've got smokes towards the market itself, and some molotovs that land somewhere back here too. I think we could come up with something more interesting, so here's my pitch for how that could work out. I think an interesting molotov that you can throw on this bomb site is one in which you wedge yourself into this corner, you turn around, and you just try and aim for where the shadow hits this rebar, so somewhere in the middle here, and you're going to get a grenade that lands right at the corner of the bomb site. The advantage is that it should eventually spread and burn up onto the box itself, and that gives you a lot of room to maneuver around. You're not really going to be stopped from going down necessarily. As the molotov lands, you can easily path around here. You don't have to run into it yourself. But it does mean that if someone's boosted, they have to run away, and it saves you from clearing the corner. We're seeing, I think, in these days, a lot of people end up losing these B pushers to 5.7s or MP9s that are boosted up there. And I don't think there's any reason to. Unless you're in a hurry, you can stop and throw this molotov pretty easily. The next grenade here is not so much of a lineup or any kind of a trick, really. I just wonder why people aren't doing this more. There is a light post out here that you can very, very easily molotov, and a lot of times, you know, the CTs end up holding down there as you're trying to jump out, and it is really as simple as sort of standing anywhere back here in the corner. If you aim on this side, it's going to be good. If you aim too far out, it's going to bounce off the other way. In theory, if you really wanted to be special with it, you could also aim it from this side, and it's going to sort of bounce down and land here. I'm just saying that a lot of the times you're going to see CTs that are holding this corner, and if you're jumping out here on the T side, it can be very, very hard to clear everything. So just having this molotov in your back pocket, I think is going to be useful. But again, not really a deep trick, just something that I've been wondering about. Now, the next trick has taken me a really long time to figure out, and I'm actually quite excited for it. So if you guys like this, you've got to try and do it in a match. I've always wanted a smoke that actually blocks off all of this particular arch. This one is less important because from this position, if the smoke is here, nobody can really shoot over it. But the problem is, a smoke that lands here, you can shoot over very, very easily, even from this position. But also if you're boosted down here, that smoke does nothing at all. So I think there's a solution to it. Now, it is going to be a little bit tricky. It will require some practice, I'm not going to lie. But I can do it consistently now, and you should be able to as well. If you start by sort of finding this window, and if you just go up all the way until you reach up here, you're going to find that there is this particular decal. How do you describe this? I'm not really sure. I think if the truth is, at some point, if you start looking at it, you're just going to know what this looks like. I can't really give you more than that. I'm sorry. But once you know what you're looking for, if you aim at that decal, you're going to be able to aim somewhere below it here, and you do a jump throw, and your grenade is going to land in a very peculiar position. So it's going to be falling up like this, and it'll eventually fall down and land right at that corner. But it spreads the whole distance, and that means nobody can play from down here and shoot through any longer. They will have to sort of go out on this side, which again, you can easily smoke from any position out there. That's not even a trick that's worth showing. I've tried to land the other smoke up here, which it is possible, but it is not worth your time in my opinion. It is very, very easy to screw it up. This one, we can do consistently, and that's the only one that matters because this is the position you're trying to get rid of. This other one, again, like I said, if somebody smokes this from really anywhere, assuming this smoke is also down, what does it matter? Like, no one is doing anything from this position. They can't really do much. So I think this smoke plus this smoke will create a very interesting wall. And just to show you again, do this the old-fashioned way, what it's going to end up looking like from the other side is a very, very easy bomb site to take, where now you don't really have to worry about anything that's going on out there, and you can focus on the rest of the bomb site. And I think that's worth having. Now, the last grenade of the video is actually not one that I made, but one that Sorry over the community came up with, at least the fundamental idea for it. I think he did a little bit differently than I did, but it doesn't really matter. I think the idea is fantastic, and I really appreciate it. I think it's so much fun when people contribute with grenades, so I appreciate that. It's one of the good reasons why you guys should be watching the stream some more, because we do spend a lot of time on this stuff. Maybe too much, some might say. Now, what I do is I find the border here between this orange or red wall or whatever it is, and I just sort of look at this particular decal where it's just a little bit darker here. So just try and wedge yourself into it and find out a way to sort of have your crosshair near the middle here, somewhere like that. Once you found the spot on the wall and you turn around, there's a place right here where there's sort of a little bit of a darker area, and if you just aim for this and do a bit of a jump throw, you should be able to land a grenade that goes over and actually burns out the other side here. Now, this is a really funky grenade. Obviously, as you can tell, it sort of bounces what amounts to into almost nothing, and then it falls over like this, but it burns out an enormous area here. And I think if timed correctly with, you know, teammates that are pushing into the middle, you could sort of imagine that someone's holding these positions, which obviously people are very often. This particular grenade is going to be very, very annoying to have to deal with, and you might not see it coming, you might not realize. Obviously, if you're pushed out further than that and you're holding one of these off angles here, which we will do as well, it's going to be really, really difficult to deal with. So I think it's a lot of fun. Shout out to Sorry for figuring this one out. I think it's really, really cool, and I must say I can do it very consistently at this point. I feel like it takes a little bit of getting used to, because again, the decals are, you know, they're not that intuitive, but once you know what you're aiming for, it should be pretty much a done deal. So try it out for yourself and tell me what you think. Again, remember to follow and like and comment and all the rest of it. I try to make more of this content, and I really do enjoy it. So shout out to you guys for helping me out and supporting the content and the stream and everything else. I do appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.